We all know that when mothers yell for you to come home, you can tell what it's all about. It's either dinner or you're in trouble. I could tell that there was something wrong. So I went running home. And there on the porch was my mother. And before any greeting, she just looked at me. She says, "Where is it? Where is my diamond engagement ring? Where is it?" And I said, "Well, I got married this afternoon." She was not impressed. My mother said a statement that would live with me forever and continues to resonate in my heart. As I placed the ring into her hands, she just looked at me, she said, "You know, when you love, you give everything. When you love, you not only give a ring, but you give everything." It was the summer of 1969. Most of you are too young to remember the summer of 1969. And the song "Sugar, Sugar" was blasting on the radio on the summer of 1969. This song, "Sugar, Sugar," I'm not even sure who sang it. I think it was a one-hit wonder. But it's being played on all the stations and at wedding receptions. You need to hear this song. Google it later. It's a song that will kind of stick to you. "Sugar, Sugar." And I was about 5 years old, and I was adorable. I really was. I was so adorable that I was in all of our family weddings that summer of 1969. I was in 8 of them, 8 weddings in one summer. That's why that song, "Sugar, Sugar," kind of stands out. And I was a ring bearer at all those weddings. And being 5 years old, I felt the pressure. I thought, all my cousins are getting married. I better get this done. I better get married. So I immediately thought, I know who will marry me. Robin. Robin was a wicked kickball player, and she lived next door. Being at weddings, I realized that I needed a ring, that I needed to get a ring to give to Robin. So I did something I was never supposed to do. I snuck into my parents' bedroom, went to my mother's jewelry box, opened it up, looked through it, and there I found this gold band with a little piece of glass on it. It was my mother's diamond. But I thought, oh, who's going to miss this thing? So I grabbed it, ran out, gave it to Robin. We were married. Done. Well, later that afternoon, my mother began to yell for me to come home. And we all know that when mothers yell for you to come home, you can tell what it's all about. It's either dinner or you're in trouble. I could tell that there was something wrong. So I went running home. And there on the porch was my mother. And before any greeting, she just looked at me. She says, "Where is it? Where is my diamond engagement ring? Where is it?" And I said, "Well, I got married this afternoon." She was not impressed. My mother is a very pious, very devout Roman Catholic woman. very much into her faith. And I couldn't believe what she said in response to me. She just looked at me and she said, "Divorce that woman and get my ring back." So off I went, retrieved the ring back from Robin, came back home, presented it to my mother, gave it back to my mother. My mother said a statement that would live with me forever and continues to resonate in my heart. As I placed the ring into her hands, she just looked at me, she said, "You know, when you love, you give everything. When you love, you not only give a ring, but you give everything." At the time, I didn't know what that meant. And then fast forward to the summer of 1999, the summer of my ordination at Jesu Cleveland. My mother at the time was living with cancer and going through chemo, and so her doctor told her she could not go to my ordination. My mother was notorious for doing things she was told not to do. She not only went to my ordination, I didn't even expect her to be there. She wasn't supposed to be there. She rented a Trailways bus to take her from upstate New York to my ordination in Cleveland, and invited the whole town and family and friends to journey with her on this Trailways bus. They traveled overnight to get to my ordination. And as you were thinking, well, that must have been a really difficult trip, when I walked onto the bus, back of the bus was a keg. They had a great party all the way there. But at the end of my ordination, my mother presented me with a gift, a box. And I unwrapped it. And in there was a patent that you place the host on. And then there was this chalice. And embedded in the chalice was my mother's diamond ring. And then it came back to me. When you love, you give everything. Indeed, love can take us beyond boundaries and borders. Love can take us into places we're not supposed to go. Love can take us and tear down walls. In the Gospel of Luke, at this moment in the Gospel of Luke, Jesus has been engaged in ministry and preaching and healing in the region, mainly within the region of Galilee. But we hear in today's passage, Jesus decides to venture out of and away from the familiar, from Galilee. And Jesus sets his face on Jerusalem, a new mission. Indeed, Jesus, as we know what happens to Jesus in Jerusalem, this is a new mission. It's a mission where he will give everything as he moves away from the familiar and as he ventures towards Jerusalem. And on the way to Jerusalem, on this new mission, he is determined to pass through the region, the troublesome region of Samaria. This is a very tense area between Jews and the Samaritans. Jesus didn't have to go to Samaria. It was not a shortcut to Jerusalem. And in the ancient codes, a Jewish person could be considered ritually unclean can be barred from the community for just stepping into Samaria. Yet it is love that takes Jesus to this edgy, insignificant, this very tense region of his world onto a new mission. Actually, the rabbis of this day, the learned rabbis of this day, would often refer to Samaria as a place void of God and void of love. But this is precisely the place that Jesus says, I have to go. I got to go there. And we hear in that great Gospel of John, remember the Gospel of John? Jesus goes, there's a Samaritan woman, and that's where Jesus goes to. The Samaritan woman is where Jesus goes to and breaks all kinds of rules by engaging with the Samaritan woman, declaring that living water is bubbling up in her life. He even summons her, the Samaritan woman, to be a disciple, to follow him. At that very moment, Jesus is breaking all the social standards and norms in engaging with the Samaritan woman. Jesus isn't doing this because he's rebellious or a rule breaker. He reaches out to that Samaritan woman, to those villages of Samaria, for the sake of love. Jesus demonstrates in our gospel today, and in this Samaritan woman, Jesus demonstrates where love can take us. Beyond the boundaries, beyond the borders, breaking down stereotypes, tearing down walls. I think Jesus could cross these boundaries and these borders. Jesus could break rules and norms of his day. He did this to heal and reconcile and to create a beloved community. A beloved community where no one is ever excluded, where everyone is included, where no one is excluded from God's plan of salvation, where everyone is included in God's divine love and energy and salvation.